NBA insider Zach Lowe has some high praise for Isaiah Hartenstein, and I'm here to break it all down. All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel from Knicks Digest, and I want to get right into today's video. So Zach Lowe on his podcast, The Lowe Post, he recently had a whole segment talking about the New York Knicks and specifically talking about Isaiah Hartenstein. And I quote, "Hartenstein's been a revelation, tireless, reveling in grimy parts of the game from which some players recede. He should be at least a fringe candidate for one of the all-defensive teams. Without him, Knicks might be fighting to stay above the play-in." Now, having read that quote, the first thing that pops into my mind is just, as of late, I've just been seeing a lot of Knicks news on the internet. I'm seeing JJ Redick and Tim Legler talk about Deuce McBride. Zach Lowe is now talking about Isaiah Hartenstein. Also, on those two episodes, they're also talking about the Knicks in general, how good of a player Jalen Brunson is. But now focusing on the Isaiah Hartenstein part, after reading that quote, it got me to think about, okay, what do Isaiah Hartenstein's numbers actually look like without Mitchell Robinson in the lineup? So I did some digging, and as you can see here, in 44 games without Mitchell Robinson, he's averaging 9.9 rebounds, 8.2 points, and 2.8 assists. Now, at first glance, those numbers might not jump out at you from the stat sheet, but what Isaiah Hartenstein brings to the court, what he brings to the team, is what Zach Lowe said in his quote. He brings a tenacity, he brings a certain grit and grind to the team. Isaiah Hartenstein, yeah, he has some offensive ability, but where Hartenstein really shines is in the in-between areas. The rebounds, the loose balls, the charges, the deflections, the steals, the blocks. Those little things throughout the game, they really add up. And for the most part, with Mitchell Robinson being down, with Julius Randle being down, with OG Anunoby being down, Isaiah Hartenstein, of course, as well as other players, they've been able to hold down the fort until we started getting those bodies back. Now, of course, there's a discourse amongst Knicks fans talking about who should actually be the starter, Mitchell Robinson or Isaiah Hartenstein. Actually, when Mitchell Robinson went down with his ankle injury and he had to get the surgery, Coach Tibbs, he put Jericho Sims in that starting center position. And the reason why is because Hartenstein actually wanted to keep coming off the bench because he said that he was able to find a certain groove, to find a certain flow, and he didn't really want to mess that up. But as time went on, it was pretty obvious. Like, Isaiah Hartenstein had to be the starting center. So Jericho Sims ended up backing up Isaiah Hartenstein. But what I really want to focus on, I want to focus on the differences between Hartenstein's game and Mitchell Robinson's game. So I'm actually on the side of Isaiah Hartenstein starting, even when Mitchell Robinson is back, and he did come back 2 days ago against the Toronto Raptors, was his first game. So, slowly but surely, he's building up his stamina, his conditioning, his timing, his feeling. But I'm talking about even in the playoffs. Even in the playoffs, if hopefully we get past the first round and we go deep into the playoffs, I think Isaiah Hartenstein should still be starting. Now, here's the reason why. Mitchell Robinson, of course, we know that he is our defensive anchor. We look for him to get defensive stops, blocks, rebounds, just deflections, just trying to alter and change the trajectory of certain shots when players are attacking the rim. Players, when they attack the rim and they see Mitchell Robinson in there, they think twice because Mitchell Robinson, one, is either going to block it or he's just going to change the trajectory of the actual shot. But Mitchell Robinson's game, his ceiling is so limited. On the offensive end, we can't throw the ball to Mitchell Robinson and say, get us a bucket. Mitchell Robinson doesn't have a baby hook. He doesn't have a baby jumper. Most of Mitchell Robinson's offensive game is off of alley-oops, drawn up plays out of timeouts, sideline out of bounds, baseline out of bounds. And I know we're not asking of that from Mitchell Robinson, but I've always been under the assumption that if you are able to add some sort of or provide some sort of offensive threat in any position on the floor, whether it be point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, whatever position, you need to be able to have at least one go-to move. And Mitchell Robinson, I think in this offseason, should really try and develop that baby hook. Now, this is where Isaiah Hartenstein has the edge in my eyes over Mitchell Robinson. Isaiah Hartenstein, he is an amazing passer. He can actually create plays for himself and others. And when I say create plays for himself, he has that little floater in the paint. He has that little baby hook. And that is where I think the difference lies between Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein. What Isaiah Hartenstein is also able to do that Mitchell Robinson absolutely cannot, I said a little earlier, is create plays for others. You see a bunch of times where Isaiah Hartenstein, he gets the ball at the top of the paint and then he faces the rim and then he's either trying to dribble to a certain player, trying to let that player know, like, yo, try and go back door. And Isaiah Hartenstein could give that little pass. So he has a nice offensive feel and an offensive touch. And the further you get into the playoffs, the more players that you have the ability to create for themselves and others is going to pay dividends. Mitchell Robinson, aside from the defensive anchor that he is, man, the guy's athletic as hell. The guy's athletic as hell. And if we have somebody that's athletic enough to change the trajectory of some shots of the guards attacking the paint, of course that's going to be a bonus. But we also got to take into account the matchups that we're probably going to see in the playoffs. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm jumping the gun, but the team that jumps out to me is the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, of course, is the leader in the Eastern Conference. They're the #1 team in the Eastern Conference that everybody has to get through. But what Mitchell Robinson is able to provide in a matchup with the Boston Celtics is against Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis, whenever he's healthy, he's the starting five. But of course, a former Knick, we all know Kristaps Porzingis came into the league being that 7'3" shooter, basically, who's able to spread the floor, who you can throw the ball in the post. And since he's so tall, he can actually just turn around and just do a little shot. But what Kristaps Porzingis really separates himself from other bigs in the league is that three-point shot. And Mitchell Robinson's athleticism, this is where it comes to play. I believe that Mitchell Robinson, if we end up facing the Boston Celtics, which more than likely will look like, I believe the only way we'll be able to match up with them is in the Eastern Conference Finals. If that happens, Mitchell Robinson would be able to make life hard for Kristaps Porzingis. I'm not saying that he's going to shut him down. I'm not saying that he's absolutely going to make Kristaps Porzingis have 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists for a game. No, he's an NBA player. Kristaps Porzingis is a professional basketball player. He'll be able to find his. But what Mitchell Robinson is going to be able to provide is just being annoying, being super athletic, just being in his shirt, being able, if Kristaps Porzingis is on the three-point line and he tries to drive around Mitchell Robinson is athletic enough to stay in front of him. Now, I try to do some digging and I try to look up the numbers of Isaiah Hartenstein when he took over the role for Mitchell Robinson. So starting on December 11th, we do have to have a little bit of a caveat because Coach Tibbs actually put Jericho Sims in the starting center position when Mitchell Robinson went down. I'm not sure for how long he was in that starting center position, and then Isaiah Hartenstein eventually just took over. I don't remember how many games it was. But these are some of the games starting from December 11th, and a couple of the games that really stand out to me is the game against the Clippers on December 16th, where he had 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 assists. Another game was when they went up against the Milwaukee Bucks on December 23rd. That was 12 points, 13 rebounds, and 1 assist. And then the last game on this graphic, which is January 3rd, they're playing the Chicago Bulls. He had 10 points, he had 20 rebounds, and 1 assist. And then here in January 13th, where they were in Memphis, Isaiah Hartenstein had 12 points, 20 rebounds, 2 assists. And then the last 2 games on this graphic, January 29th and January 30th. The first one in Charlotte, the second one we hosted the Utah Jazz. So the one in Charlotte, he had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. And then the one with Utah Jazz, he had 14 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists. I'd say right now Isaiah Hartenstein has a little bit more of a reputation of being a defensive player, but us Knicks fans, we've been watching the games night in and night out, and we know what he's capable of, and we know what he brings to the table. So it's going to be very interesting coming down to the wire to see what Coach Tibbs is going to do. I'd say that when the playoffs start, I'd say Isaiah Hartenstein is going to remain the starting center. And I feel like if that's the case, then he should just ride that throughout the whole playoffs. No matter how long we're in the playoffs, and if we keep advancing, keep Isaiah Hartenstein as a starting center, because then the chemistry and the flow and the rhythm of the team, I feel like that'll mess it up. And I'm sure Coach Tibbs understands that. So I'm pretty sure that's what's probably going to happen. But guys, that's it for today's video. I want to say thank you for checking it out. Please sure to leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about Zach Lowe's comments about Isaiah Hartenstein. And also let me know about what you guys think Isaiah Hartenstein starting over Mitchell Robinson, when Mitchell Robinson, after he gets maybe a couple more weeks under his belt. But that's it, guys. I want to say thank you so much. But until next time, guys, you guys know the vibes. You guys know the drill. Taj Gibson for president, even though he's on the Detroit Pistons. Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. And we got to throw Deuce in there. Deuce for co-MVP. And until next time, guys, I'll check you out in the next video. Peace.